Hello and welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. This is our midweek episode. Today I am talking about eating out and losing weight. This came off the back of quite a few comments from some clients this week, and I thought it would be a really good topic to share with you because so many people think that in order to lose weight they need to cancel all of their social plans and their social life. And I believe the exact opposite. Life is for living, and to spend it without going out to seeing friends or family, without having dinner out or a few drinks or weekends away, just would be dull as dishwater, boring, wouldn't be fun. That's not what life is for. So let's change some of those beliefs, and this episode is going to give you some strategies, some tips, and some things that you can do to make sure that you are still able to go out and eat out without thinking that you just have to have, the salad starter and nothing else. Or remember those times when perhaps you thought you needed to take a Tupperware out in order to eat. We don't need to do that. Okay. So the first thing I want you to think about when it comes to socialising, going out for dinner, spending time with friends and family, is to think about the reason you're there and why you're doing it. Firstly, you're not cooking or cleaning up. Someone else is doing it for you. Hurrah! That's, apart from anything else, that's a great reason to celebrate going out for dinner, is that you're not doing the cooking and cleaning up. Okay, but seriously, I am serious. That is a great reason. But having people to spend time with that you love and you have fun with and you care about is amazing. We should all be thankful and grateful that we get to do this, right? And what I mean when I say think about the reason that you're going out, I'll give you an example. So the other day I went for lunch with some friends of mine, and we were really disappointed with the food that we had. And rather than spend time, we did have a little bit of this wasn't great, but I didn't go there to and spend time with them just for the food. In fact, the food was way down the list of the priorities. I went there to spend time with them. That was the important bit. And that's a really good reminder for me that social plans are important. Seeing people is important. Having that quality time with people is why I do these things. Now, if I had afternoon tea in the Ritz, however, obviously I would expect amazing food, and I would, as well as the great time with my friends. But it was a local cafe, a sandwich and a cake in a local cafe. The food really wasn't the important thing. It was the company and the connection. So when you've got these occasions, I want you to really think about what's the priority here? What is the main reason that we're doing this? Okay. The second thing that I want you to think about is this concept of compromise, not sacrifice. Okay. Because if you're regularly going out 2, 3, 4 times a week to eat, which is absolutely doable, by the way, and still making progress on your weight loss. I've worked with numerous clients, and I've got clients at the moment who are having major works being done on their kitchen. So the only way they can get around that is to eat out a few times a week, because they just physically don't have a kitchen and they don't want to eat ready meals every day, right? So you can still make progress and eat out regularly, but you will need to make compromises. And if you're not willing to make compromises on those eating out occasions, what you will compromise is your result. Okay, that's what the compromise will be. So always think, actions have consequences. So your compromise will be your result if you're not willing to compromise on some of those meals out. And we're going to talk about some of the compromises in the course of this podcast. So let's talk about planning. Now, I would imagine most meals out are planned in advance. So where you can, plan around it as much as possible. So things like checking the menu ahead of time so that you have a rough idea. My dog is now on the windowsill chasing flies. Sorry about that. So plan ahead, check the menu ahead of time so that you have a rough idea of what you want to eat. Now, give yourself permission to change your mind if you fancy something else when you get there. That's fine. But giving yourself that view of the menu, you roughly know what you might want to have, helps you to feel a little bit more in control. And I find that really helps, particularly when, you know, I've had no control over the restaurant or the time that we're going or the day that we're going or anything like that. The other aspect of planning is thinking about what you might want to eat after. And I know you're thinking, well, hold on, I'm going out for dinner. Why would I eat anything after? But you don't always go out for dinner, do you? So if you're going out for lunch, it would be really dangerous to assume that you won't want a lighter meal at dinner time. And if you haven't planned anything to have a bit later on, you're entering the danger zone. So, you know, we quite often go out for lunch, or we'll have lunch at my mother-in-law's or whatever, and I will always plan a little picky plate for the evening just in case we're a little bit peckish at, 7 o'clock that evening. It'll always include some kind of protein, some fruit and veggies, and it's easy and quick. Nothing that I have to, that I'm going to have to cook, because if I've got away with cooking one meal in the day, I don't want to have to cook another one. So it might be, I don't know, some little chicken satays or fridge raiders or something that I've got from the supermarket, Baby Bells, carrot, cucumber sticks, bit of hummus, something like that, maybe some grapes or something like that. So just something to snack on. Then I want you to consider the big picture of the whole week. And this is what I now would term balance. Okay, now I used to say that I didn't believe in balance, and I've changed my mind on that. When it comes to losing weight and maintaining that weight loss for life, you need to understand balance and what balance looks like for you in your life. And when it comes to eating out, the balance is considering what the rest of your week looks like. So for example, if you're going out for dinner on Thursday, but the rest of the week your meals and plans are all down to you, you probably have space on that Thursday evening to be a bit more indulgent in that meal out. But if you also had lunch out on Monday and you're having a takeaway with friends on Saturday, that could potentially end up being quite an indulgent week. So look at the big picture when you're making your choices, and remember the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your food should be chosen in line with your goals, nutritious, nutrient dense, lower calorie, as little processing as possible, and then the 20% is the stuff that is a bit more indulgent. Now, one of my clients said this week that, she felt a little bit sideswiped by calories not being on the menu at the restaurants she went to. And that's kind of something that we have to accept, because legally, some restaurants, smaller restaurants, don't have to put the calories on their menus. Now, whatever your feelings are about calories on the menu, I want you to think about it this way. They're not going to be accurate, ever. And they should be a guide and not be the absolute rule of your decision. Because think of it this way, say you go out for pizza, how do we know that the chef Joe is going to make that pizza? And I know, in a chain, they probably have guidelines and measures and stuff. But how do we know that Joe is going to make the pizza exactly the same way as Jane is going to make the pizza, and put exactly the same amount of cheese and exactly the same amount of pepperoni? So it's a guide, right? And I also want you to think about the lowest calorie option is not always going to be the best option for you. So if you go somewhere and the calories are on the menu, give them a bit of a pinch of salt when you're choosing, but also don't just automatically go for the lowest calorie option, okay? Just like a salad isn't always going to be the best option anyway. So calories are king and the most important aspect of a weight loss journey. But if you are constantly picking the lowest calorie option that has hardly any protein and is a tiny portion, you're likely to still be hungry. So yes, consider the calories if they're there and if they're on the menu, but also think about the protein, the veg and the fibre content of your meals and what's going to leave you most satisfied and what are you most likely to enjoy. And just like I say, if the calories aren't on the menu and you think, oh, I'll just go for the salad, that's probably the best option. Again, look at the ingredients of that salad, because that might not be the case. If it's got a really rich creamy dressing, if it's got loads of high calorie ingredients in it, like loads of nuts and things like that, if it's got stuff in it that has been fried, that's likely to actually be a higher calorie option. Okay, another tool that you can use is the 2 out of 4 rule. So this is one of the guidelines I use with my clients. So you choose 2 from starter, main, dessert and an alcoholic drink. Now, I'm a big dessert fan. I love them. I've got such a sweet tooth. And I pretty much will also always check the dessert menu before I decide on what my 2 out of 4 are. And I'm more likely to not choose an alcoholic drink. And so I'd much rather have the main or the dessert, or if there's not desserts on there I think I'm going to fancy, I'll have a starter and a main. But you do you. If you prefer a glass of something and a main, go for it. But if you use that 2 out of 4 rule, rather than every time you go out for dinner you're having a starter, a main, a dessert and a glass or 2 of wine, then that is going to be a much higher calorie meal for you that isn't compromising, and that is going to compromise on your results. Okay. Another tool that I recommend you use is eating to 80% full. So often we all of our food on our plate because we've paid for it and we deem it as a waste. So I want to really challenge you on this. Think about it. Restaurant food is often much richer, much higher in calories than the food that we would cook at home. So for example, they might pan fry something that at home we might bake, like a fillet of fish. So a really good practice is to eat to 80% full and then stop when you're satisfied rather than when you're stuffed. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that restaurant food makes me stuffed in a different kind of way, and I put it down to it being richer, but also to the fact that when we're in a restaurant we're more social, we eat slower, we talk more, and that stuffed feeling kind of creeps up on us more so than I feel it at home. I don't know, that could just be me, and that stuffed feeling is not nice. So practicing eating to 80% full, and remember to tell yourself that you're not a bin. The food is already paid for, and finishing it just because it's been paid for is treating yourself like a bin. Now, this practicing 80% full takes time. You know, it's, I feel comfortable, I think I'll stop there. Give yourself 5-10 minutes. And if your food hasn't been taken away and you still feel hungry, then eat a little bit more. It's a good thing to practice at home when you haven't got a waiter coming and taking your food away from you. And it's just generally good practice, but really useful when you're eating out for dinner. Now, one of my clients this week commented in her check-in that she went out for dinner and she was starving by the time she got to the restaurant. So in her words, she face-planted the pitta and overate. And she hadn't snacked in the afternoon because she was trying to save calories for her meal out that night. So if this is something that you do, I want you to consider this. If you get out to that meal and you are starving, it is so much harder to make decisions that align with your goals. All the planning and thinking you might have done before this meal will go out the window because you're just so hungry, especially if it's been 5 or more hours since you last ate. So I would really encourage you not to get to that meal super hungry and either have lunch a little bit later or have a mid-afternoon snack. because skipping a meal and eating really small portions before you're going out for dinner really most often doesn't work. And if you do want to save calories for an event that's coming up at the weekend, then you're better off saving that across the course of a couple of days. So up to about 150 calories a day. This is much better than just going super light on your meals for the day and ending up hangry. Okay, so you've got your plans in place, but what happens if you go over your calories? Well, that's fine. So even if you've planned it all, you've thought it through, but it doesn't go quite to plan, you don't need to then try and claw back those calories for the rest of the week. I had this conversation with my husband last week when he told me that that's what he was trying to do after making up for an overindulgence earlier in the week. Now remember, if you're looking at the big picture of the week and planning ahead, this shouldn't happen. But in the case of my husband, this was a last minute change of plan when he ate out unexpectedly. So either way, whether it's a last minute plan or you just can't resist the tiramisu despite having had the starter, a main and a glass of Prosecco, I don't want you to worry about it. Draw a line and move on, because if you over restrict and try and make up for it for the next couple of days, that never ends well. Just go back to your regular habits, your regular calories, your regular choices that align with your goals, and carry on, and don't worry about that overindulgence. So this was a really short, sharp episode, just wanting to help you with eating out and how you can plan it and approach it. Remember, we shouldn't be giving up our social lives. They are important. It's an important part of being human to be connected, to have this social time. But if you are regularly eating out and you are not planning it well and considering the bigger picture of your week, you will compromise on your progress. So it's better to make some compromises in the choices that you're making in those meals out so that you can still enjoy them and you can still reach your goals. If you want my help with your nutrition, your exercise, your self-care in order to reach your goals, your weight loss, health and fitness goals, then check out the links in the show notes and come and find me. I would love to help you. Have a good week. Bye.